Lamar.
Mackenzie. We don't have to sing anymore.
We don't have to sing
blessing.
anymore,
Yeah.
for which I am very grateful because we are both still sick. Welcome to 2026-ish.
Yeah, we're recording this in December, guys. Sorry.
It's 2025 still, but it's gonna be 2026 when you get this. So you're welcome, guys. So I have a question for you.
Aww.
Have you noodled at all on some New Year's resolutions?
I feel like I usually only set one New Year's resolution, and it's usually like pretty attainable. I don't like doing like a huge life change because then I feel like you end up quitting 2 weeks in. So you're
the guy who like starts the checklist with like the thing you already did.
Yeah, like the first box is start a list. Yes, I've done it. Congratulations, check. Already making progress. But I feel like last year it was literally just the last 2 years I've been tracking how many books I read. And so 2 years ago, I think I read 12 books. Last year I read 16. My goal this year was to read 18. We have 2 weeks left in December. I need to read one more. So
nice.
To be determined.
I was about to quiz you.
Yeah, to be determined if I hit my goal. This coming year, first off, let me ask you this. Did you watch our Riverside? They kind of do like a Spotify Wrapped-esque thing for our pod. Did you watch that on Riverside?
I watched our Spotify Wrapped, but not our Riverside Wrapped.
So there is a Riverside Wrapped where they...
I saw that, but I haven't watched it.
Like they do a super compilation of the show. It's only like 90 seconds long, but it did make me laugh because it basically has 3 parts. The first one was something you're good at, and it was like, you guys are good at making people laugh, and it's just a super cut of you laughing at all my terrible jokes.
Because I'm so nice. It's because I'm nice.
The second one was our favorite word of the year, the word that we use the most, and it was bad, apparently. So we say bad more often than we say good, but it was just us going like bad, 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 bad,
Yikes.
bad. And then the last one was your New Year's resolution for 2026. And this was, I felt personally attacked. It is us saying for about 30 seconds. It's like
no.
Hurtful. Okay, but I get it. Sometimes we need to be coached.
Rude. Riverside Wrapped is rude.
There is AI on Riverside where we could remove all the filler words, the the likes and whatnot. But I feel like when we've done that, it doesn't sound like actual weird. Human conversation. You know, we use filler words, so
I was going to say, people talk in filler words. I mean, I'm not saying that we shouldn't ever, limit some filler words. However, I think it is how people talk. So fuck you, Riverside.
So all that to say, that was a massive...
Those are a roundabout way of not telling me your New Year's resolution.
I guess it's to say a little less. But if I had to pick one for this year, I've been saying this for years. I want to do stand-up comedy, and I follow an account on Instagram that is like the Austin stand-up scene. Like they list all the open mics every night of the week, and I started following them 8 months ago with the intention of like, let me start with an open mic and just go to one of these places on a Thursday and do 5 minutes and see how I do. So I will commit to that here live on the pod. I will have done stand-up comedy by the end of 2026. How about that?
Oh my God, you heard it here first, guys.
What about
you? Do you have your tight
friend?
5? Like, are you ready? Like, do you have a tight 5? Are we good?
I've got a tight, 45 seconds. I got 2 good jokes, and then the rest I'm going to have to build out. We'll see. Yeah.
That's what we're here. We're here to workshop. Like, we can figure this out together. I love it. I really dragged that out for you because I also have no resolutions.
Okay.
I'm not a big New Year's resolution person. I know you were saying this as well, but like, I don't know. I feel like I agree that it kind of sets you up to fail because I feel like it's like, what is my biggest regret from last year, basically, and how do I fix it? And sometimes it's just like, I don't know, it's just habits, Yeah. I always try to read a lot. That's always a goal. I read 72 books last year, and this year I only read like 40. So that felt like not as many.
Triple my goal. So.
Well, I mean, yeah, but it's just, I read a lot, obviously. Yeah. But I also was thinking about this in the context of the larger stuff that I do. It's just like I watch all these movies and I go to all these movies too. So like it's a lot of fucking content. Yeah. So I actually think if I were to reverse engineer a goal, it would probably be like spend more time without content, like in nature with like silence and quality time that is not built with fillers of some kind, like go on a walk without your earbuds, just like take in the world. I feel like maybe I need a little breather from all it, because I watch a ton of stuff, I read a ton of stuff, I listen to a gazillion podcasts, and so yeah, I don't know, maybe I need a breather from the content.
No, I like that. That's like some mindfulness away from all the noise. Not to say the content's a bad thing, otherwise we wouldn't be doing a podcast. But sometimes you just need to go be. I feel like I had read something not long ago, like in the last 5 years, about our propensity, especially these days, to kind of multitask, and it makes it where you don't enjoy one thing as much as you could be because you're doing 3 things. So when you're eating and also playing on your phone or watching something on TV, you're not enjoying the meal as much as you could be if you just put all your focus into enjoying a good meal. It's the same with hiking and things like that. So I'm with you. I think that's a great resolution.
It's a big part of why I go to the movies. Because if I go to the movies, I can't do anything else. I can only enjoy the movie. Versus if I watch it at home, especially for the podcast, I'm obviously taking notes. But if I watch it at home, I can easily distract myself and not, just check my phone or do whatever. And so, I agree. Just enjoying the moments that you're in probably is the goal.
Well, we got goals.
We got goals, guys. We'll check in at the end of the year. See how we did. Okay. Thanks for playing. Let's roll. Welcome back to We Drink and We Watch Things. I'm Mackenzie.
Yo soy Lamar.
Hilariously, I have, the script that I've had since the dawn of this podcast, and it says my line and your line, and I don't know why I keep looking at it, but I always do for always, forever and always. And I almost said, because I was looking at your line, I'm Lamar. 3 years on, guys. We're doing great.
You definitely know your own name, so that's something.
So I'm an excellent podcast host, is all you need to know. So if you didn't know, it's 2026. It's a new year. It's a new Jan. It's a new all the things. So we are doing Fan Jan.
3rd year in a row.
I know. It's a tradition. I like some of it. We don't, as y'all know, we don't do like months that are the same every single month. But I like that we have a few anchor months. I like that January is always this. November is always a director. Like, I like that. That's fun. So,
which you had said last week, aka today, because we're recording this in December. But you had said that you had a bone to pick with some Fan Jan selections. Is this one of them?
Yeah, a little bit. I didn't want to watch this. I mean, this is not. Well, let me rephrase. I have been being asked by people, a specific person, in fact, to rewatch this because they love it. And I was like, no, I did not love it. No, thank you. So I was like, I'm not going to watch it again. And then the fact that it was on the list, I was like, God damn it. And then it won. And I was like, extra God damn it. However, I had committed to giving it another shot. So this just kind of made me do it. So I guess that's good. I like him, the writer, but I'll get into like my bone to pick with him. The one that I was most upset about was I really wanted to do theater camp. Like,
guys, I know that it's hard when we do these fan polls. We know what normally when I post the 4 choices, I'm like, it's going to be this one, or I know the top 2 at least. And when there are films like Theater Camp that I know the majority of our listeners have not seen yet, it breaks my heart. It's not going to get like a single vote, honestly. But I highly recommend, if you like sort of like awkward and subtly dark comedies, go watch Theater Camp. It's a hidden gem from 2 years ago it came out. It's quite good. It's got Claire Bear from The Bear in it. Like, it's
I just wanted to watch it. I also really love Remember the Titans, but I would have liked the opportunity to do one of the others. I feel like that's one of those that's like objectively good, and I don't anticipate having a lot of great things to say about it that are super insightful or have been unsaid. It's not that it's not a good movie. It is. And then Arrival, I was about to fight all y'all, including Lamar. I was like, if I will have to watch Battlefield Earth, I will fucking quit this pod.
I have you on the record in a text message of saying,
I was so pissed. I was like, you did not.
I refuse to watch Battlefield Earth. And I was like, Mackenzie, I don't think you understand how fan polls work. Like, if Carson Daly on Total Request Live had been like, I'm not playing NSYNC today, Like,
I don't think that y'all understand that I will not allow you to hold me hostage for that shit. I was not about to do it. And then I also have been wanting to talk about Arrival for a long time. So I was
you love that movie, so I'm excited that we're finally doing it.
Talk about it. So anyway, y'all were almost in trouble. You're not in trouble now. It's fine. But yes, so now I'm excited to cover this one because I have refreshed thoughts, I guess I would say. So anyways, kicking it off with Sicario. We have a very good, well-designed, on-theme drink that I kind of fucked up, but tell me about it.
Well, I kind of fucked it up too. Like, my color is definitely off for what we named this thing. It kind of started that way, but as the ice started to melt, I think I lost it. But we're calling this the Night Vision Negroni. That's a mouthful. Due to its color, which originally was kind of like a greenish. But this is 1 ounce of gin, an ounce of dry vermouth, and then half an ounce each of maraschino liqueur, lychee liqueur, and Midori or whatever melon greenish liqueur you have. So you're going to stir that in a mixing glass with ice, strain it into a rocks glass. And here's what's fun is we made black ice cubes. My ice cube turned out great color-wise. The drink, not so much. But the whole night vision thing didn't work out. But yeah, just some food coloring in your ice cube tray gives you a black ice cube. And then tahini on the rim. The drink itself is delicious, but the vision is being lost. Sorry.
We just failed to execute the vision. And mine was, I think, it's supposed to be like a greenish black, like night vision goggles, in case y'all didn't pick that up. Mine is just black. Yeah. Mine is just night. It is not the night vision. It is just the night. Anyway,
thank you at Craft World for designing the drink. Cheers. Sorry we failed.
Sorry we fucked it up. I did get a picture of my black skull though before I poured in the cocktail, which did look pretty cool. But look what happened to me in the process of trying to get the black skull out of the fucking mold. My hands are like blackish green now. So, and my tongue's going to be black. It's going to be a whole thing. Anyway, we're doing great today, guys. We're doing great. Okay, some basics. Sicario, 2015. This has a 7.7 out of 10 on IMDb, 91% from critics, 85% from audiences, which I think I know where that comes from, and I'll get there. But yeah, like pretty well rated, especially from critics.
I think I said this last week as we were wrapping things up I put off watching Sicario for probably 8-9 years because I thought I knew what I was going into, and I just thought it was going to be this very by the books kind of action movie. This is not, I would not even call this an action movie. Like, it is suspense, thriller. There's a couple but it's not what I would consider. I think in the wrong hands, this could have been very predictable and like beat by beat action film, and that's not what this is. And I appreciated it a lot more the second time through, honestly.
I also appreciated it more the second time through. I agree. Okay, so our director here is Denis Villeneuve, who I hope I respected that name with my shitty French accent.
For the record, I've always called him Denis Villeneuve. So one of us is fucking up really badly. It's probably me.
Doing great. I think it's that I can't get the last name. I know it's Denis, but it's like Villeneuve. Like, I think there's a French there that I can't. No, don't get it twisted. He's French Canadian. They will fight you on this. I think I've said this on the pod before. I had an old boss who was French Canadian, who I assumed was French, and I got lit up. Like, that's different. Anyway, he's from Canada. So just to be clear. But I tried at his name. So give me an A for effort, you guys. Dune, Blade Runner, 2049, to be clear. Arrival, which, as we've said, we're going to talk about, which I'm excited about. Prisoners is, I think, a cool one that people have seen.
Yeah. That's another one where you think going in, you know how it'll play out, and it's just very captivating. Underrated film.
Yeah. So anyway, he does some good stuff, and I think I didn't realize until like I went through his repertoire today of like how many, I don't know, canon items he's been trusted with. You know, the Blade Runners and the Dunes are like a big fucking deal. And he's executed them really well. So
I also give him props from a professional sense, because he apparently took a 9-year break from directing because he hated the first 2 movies he made. So he took this huge gap in the aughts and then came back. And I mean, his first trip back wasn't something that I had heard of, but then he quickly went into all these other incredible films that you're mentioning now. So like, props to him for being like, I need to work on my craft. I'm not happy with how this has gone. And now being where he is today, like the Dunes are both incredible. So
yeah, I mean, he started in like some Quebec cinema stuff that most of us probably would not have seen. I haven't seen it. I just know of a couple of them. Like I've heard of Maelstrom, for example, but I've never seen it. So I wouldn't know if his assessment is fair or not. That's a good question.
That's so like that's so very Canadian of him, though, to be like, you know what? I'm not happy with this
good
product.
enough.
I'm going to take a little break.
I'm going to take a breather. I
What
didn't earn
American
this.
director would be like, hey, those sucked. See you guys in 10 years.
James Cameron would be like, I'm a fucking genius, actually, and you all don't get it. So yeah, no, so much better. Love the vibes. Okay, so the writer of this is Taylor Sheridan, and he has done. We've talked about it before. He's most well known probably as of late for like Yellowstone, which was just a wave of popularity and obsession. But he's also done some really incredible film work. Hell or High Water is one of the first of his I think I saw that's really fucking good. Wind River is a really compelling one. I love, that's a native story. What I do love about him is like he's tackling some really Native and Native American stories and a lot of his writing and work, and which I think is really interesting. And this is some of his, again, like early work.
This is his first film, I believe. His first film that he wrote.
First film. I think he had done some other things, but yeah, this is very well written. And we'll get into some of the things that changed from the script to the movie that I think are interesting.
To be fair, those things, I think the changes make the film better.
No, I think they do, but I think it's rare for a writer to be so open to that, so I think that was kind of cool. Anyways, producer. Fuck ton of people. I refuse to list them all. There's a lot of them. There's like 4 production companies involved and like 10 producers, and I give up. So I didn't get into it.
I was going to say, is this new for 2026? We don't usually list the producers. Is this one of your New Year's resolutions?
I told you that a few eps ago. I wanted to start like acknowledging the producers, because I think like the boots on the ground making the whole fucking thing happen is a pretty big deal. Not like the executive producers are usually like the investors, the producers who are really making the magic happen. This is not lightly inspired by my friends who are producers who work really hard, who I know deserve a shout out. But I do think it's an important thing. It's an important thing to call out. But this one is very hard. This is a lot of people. So like literally it was like 20 people. So I was like, I can't do this. We already take too long in this section to begin with, as you guys know.
Yeah, that's the risk. I'm like, are we sure we want to? Anyway.
Yeah.
Shout out producers. You guys are great.
You guys are great. We love you. Okay. So major cast crew, we got Emily Blunt plays Kate Mercer, our primary protagonist, although we would argue there are 3.
I would say she's the primary.
Oh, for sure. She's the primary, but
this is the 3rd film of hers we've done, right?
I think so. Because I was just about to say, we've covered a lot of what she's done. Edge of Tomorrow, Devil Wears Prada, Mary Poppins Returns. Like, girl got range.
Yeah, we did Fall Guy on the pod. We did Oppenheimer. I think this is number 3.
I think so.
I think most people know that Emily Blunt is married to John Krasinski from The Office.
A really wholesome pair, that pair.
Yeah, they both seem very likable. But did you know that her brother-in-law is Stanley Tucci?
Yeah.
So her sister, Stanley Tucci, marries her sister. That's a case where I would probably take her last name. Why do you pass up the opportunity for your last name to be Blunt? I just, if you had to choose, Mackenzie, would you be Mackenzie Krasinski or Mackenzie Blunt? Like, guy you're marrying aside, which last name would you want?
Yeah, I'd be a Blunt. I'd be a
Mackenzie Blunt.
For sure. Yeah. I already am Blunt, so it would work out great, actually. Yeah, no, that's a better last name for sure. No offense, Krasinski. You're doing great. Okay, Benicio del Toro plays Alejandro. He is, of course, of Usual Suspects fame, most notably, I think, but also
notorious farter.
What did you just say?
I said notorious farter. That the whole lineup scene was just, they were laughing because he was farting the whole time.
I thought you said larder. I don't know what it was. Like your mic was quite low for me, and I was like, "What do you mean? What do you mean?" Anyway,
no.
Okay. He's done Traffic as well, and then of Guardians fame too. I think it's fun to shout out that there are several Marvel alum here, which at this point, I don't know who's not in Marvel with the number that they've made, but we got several in this one, including Josh Brolin, who plays Matt Graver. Did No Country for Old Men, I think, is one of his early breakouts as well. And then, but he grew up in Hollywood, really.
His career is crazy. Because you remember The Goonies when we were kids, right? Yeah. That's his first film. And then if you look at his IMDb, he's sort of, not that he meanders, like he's a working actor, but you look at what he's doing from 1985 to 2007, and it's very like humdrum. He's in a bunch of like okay horror movies. He's in a bunch of okay drama. Like you saw him in stuff. But his breakthrough was No Country for Old Men. And the last 15, 17 years, he's been in everything, it feels like.
Yeah. And I think the thing with him is that he strikes me as very like, just like a regular dude. Like he definitely grew up in the LA area, but like on a ranch outside of LA. And so I think this was all for him kind of like normalized, like the access and, you know, Hollywood production scene and all of that was really normal for him. His father was James Brolin. So he kind of grew up in and around it, but he seemed to stay really grounded in like working on his family's ranch and just going to a regular school and being like a regular dude. So I don't think he took it super seriously, and it just ended up being kind of a job, and a job that he's very good at, I would say, you know. Pretty cool. He did recently do Wake Up Dead Man, which was one of my like 7 films in 7 days that I did.
Still haven't watched it. How does it go? Okay, just really quick, rank the 3 Knives Out movies from your favorite to least favorite.
Shit, I'm kind of struggling to remember differentiate the first one, to be honest. I remember loving
Ana
the
de
first
Armas,
one.
Chris Evans. Second
That's
one
right. Okay,
Edward
Norton.
Thank
you.
Yeah.
So I think 1, 3, 2 then.
Okay, that's reassuring, because the second one I didn't love Glass Onion, so I was hesitant about this third one.
I think they did that thing where they like do too much of the good thing that worked in the first one. They took it a little hard on the second one, and then they pulled it back in this one, I think.
Okay.
So yeah, no, he does really well now. He plays a priest. It's kind of funny.
I'm excited about it.
Yeah, it's on Netflix now if you haven't seen it, guys. Victor Garber. I love Victor Garber. I think I've said this before on the pod. He plays Dave Jennings. We don't get enough of him in this, I would say.
He's like a character actor, right? What else has he been in?
He really is. Argo.
Okay.
Titanic.
Yes.
Alias. He was in Alias for a 5-year run, and I think I've talked about this on the pod before. Like, I loved Alias. I watched every single episode. I own the DVDs, and he's so fucking good in that show. But he's good in everything. He's great in Argo as well. John Bernthal, who we've talked about. Ted, Wolf of Wall Street, Fury, The Bear, like lots of another character actor. What was the one you said that he was in? He was in The Punisher.
He was the Punisher in the Netflix series.
The Netflix series
at that point. Yeah. So like the new version of Daredevil with Charlie Cox. He was in the second season of that, and did a spinoff of Punisher from that. So
I don't know. A lot of that's running together for me now, but I don't think I saw it. Anyway, Daniel Kaluuya, who I hope I said his name right. I should have Googled that first. Kaluuya. I apologize. Reggie Wayne.
That's funny that they made that his name. This is a fiction. You can pick any name you want, and we just happened to pick like one of the greatest Indianapolis Colts receivers of all time, Reggie Wayne. Sure, why not? Like,
sure, why not? Yeah. It's Wayne and Wayne. I get it. I respect it. I love it.
They should have named Josh Brolin's character John Elway or like Troy Aikman.
He's giving. He could be in the NFL. He's giving that energy for sure. Daniel has been in Get Out, Black Panther, and one I wanted to call out that I can't remember if I have before is Judas and the Black Messiah. If you haven't seen it.
Did he win an Oscar for that, or he was nominated?
I don't remember if he won. He was nominated. I don't think he won. But he was nominated, and he was very good. It was a very good film overall.
He's also like apparently one of the best fake criers in Hollywood. That's something.
Really?
I feel like when you see the movies that are kind of meta and they're showing you behind the scenes, like they always use the little dropper to help people cry. So you always respect that when an actor can actually make themselves cry on cue. But he got that role in Get Out with Jordan Peele during the audition because they had him do the same scene 5 times where he had to like tear well up, and he got the tear to fall from the same eye every single time, like 5 for 5.
He knows his tear ducts, man. So, he's like, I know exactly where it's
total control. So good for you, Daniel Kaluuya.
That's amazing. Yeah. The theater kid trick is to look at the lights.
Like, and yeah.
You like look straight into the lights and they start to burn. Yeah. It's a whole thing. Okay, Jeffrey Donovan. Steve Forsing is his character. He's not here a lot, but I think he's interesting enough because he has a few like good lines, and he's in that really one intense scene that we'll talk about. Changeling is his major film work that I think people know him for, and then his TV work is Burn Notice that he did for like a gazillion years. I think that's why he's not in a lot of films. But what I will never forget him from is from Hitch. Did you ever see Hitch? Are you going to be with me here?
The Will Smith vehicle. Sorry.
Okay. Well, for those of you who did see Hitch, I'll be really fast. He is a matchmaker, whatever. He meets this guy who's looking for a woman, except he misunderstands what the premise is of this service. And he thinks like it's a hookup service instead of a find your soulmate service. And they have a very terrible interaction in which Will Smith basically defends himself against this guy when he grabs his arm and he flips his arm down on the table, and he's like a super douchebag. And he just says to him, like, he's like, if you ever touch me again, I will break your shit off. Okay, pumpkin? And he like pats him and walks off. And it's like one of the best scenes. He also gets kicked in the nuts at one point. It's great because he's the worst in that movie. And I will never forget him getting kicked in the nuts in that movie. It's just great. Anyway, we can cut all that, but it just makes me laugh. You got to go watch it. Twice. It's one of those that's like weirdly funny. And it's got, what is I'm sorry, I'm blanking on his name. King of Queens guy? Kevin James? Kevin James?
Yeah.
He's in it. He's very funny. Anyway, it's cute. Okay, quick plot summary, and then I promise we're moving on. An idealistic FBI agent is enlisted by a government task force to aid in the escalating war against drugs at the border area between the U.S. and Mexico. Yeah, accurate.
Is she idealistic?
Yes.
Okay. Compared to the other characters, yes. I
think she's deeply
maybe it's like by the book. I don't know. She's
a by the book idealistic law. She believes in the rule of law. And they say that a few like that. I think she's fair. Rule of law, justice oriented person for sure. Okay. Turn around. Don't drown. It's spoiler time. Shit gets real, man. Shit gets real. This is wild.
Tense fucking movie.
Movie.
I think of all the things that this movie does well, the tension is some of that's why I say this is not an action film. There's explosions, there's some gunfights, but this movie just keeps you on edge and nervous the whole fucking time, even when there's not a payoff. The weirdest comparison I can think of, it reminded me of watching the Blair Witch Project the first time in theaters, where like you want to see something, like you're in the woods, the camera's going all around, you are just like nervous and scared of what you will end up seeing. And spoiler for Blair Witch Project, you don't really see much, right? But in this, they do this incredible job, and I don't know, so much of it is the plot itself, the directing, but also like the sound design. You are just on edge this entire film, and a lot of times it is intentionally just like you don't get the release, and I think that's totally on purpose.
No, I mean, we can just go right into, I think that is rooted in the fact that you as the audience do not get to know what is going on.
You're in the dark.
You have to be like, we have to take into account, which I think is a really cool, intentional choice, both on the part of the script and also the way that this is shot and the way that you're brought into these various scenes, is that Kate is really our proxy as the audience. She's having the same experience as us, really, except she's physically there. And they're trying to get us as close to being Kate as possible in the way that they're shooting it, in the way that they've written it. We are just as confused. We are just as on edge. We are just as afraid. And that, I think, is really powerful. But I will also start by saying that is what pissed me off the first time. Like, that is what
the first
this is what I identified why I did. The second watch is what helped me understand why I didn't like it the first time. And That was why, because I was like, what the fuck is happening? Because here's why. The trope that I hate most, both in books and in movies, is the miscommunication trope. I hate when people like cannot speak to each other appropriately and like they're just literally not saying the thing.
They like withhold important
right,
details.
Or they withhold
like,
something,
hey,
or they
could solve this with a 2-minute conversation, but
right. It's like I could spend 30 seconds explaining to you the circumstances and we're all on the same page, but I choose not to because I don't know how to use my fucking words like an adult.
Never watch Mackenzie. Never watch Sons of Anarchy, the TV series. Have you watched
I saw the whole thing, and it is all that. It is all that.
Literally every fucking plot, like every problem and conflict in that show could have been solved with 2 characters talking.
And also just not showing up at a place. How about make a fucking phone call? Let's just make one fucking phone call and figure out what's going on. No, I'm going to motorcycle all over town. Anyway, whatever. I digress. That is my biggest complaint. What happened the first time is I was like, somebody fucking explain to her what's going on. Somebody spend 10 seconds explaining to her why she's here and she can get on board and she can read the lay of the land. What you don't understand, I think, on the first watch is that she wouldn't be on board for that if they explained it to her. You know, like, again, like she's a rule of law. She's an idealist, all these things. And they call her at the beginning a thumper. They're like, she's a thumper, kicking in doors since day one. And I think what her leadership is banking on that they are wrong about is that while she is a rule of law and an idealist and all the things, they think her like brute force thumper vibes of like, I will kick in doors and I will crush this threat overshadows her idealism. I think they thought she was just going to be like, I will come kick in doors with you.
Yeah, she'll come around. Yeah.
Yes, and I think that conflict is what we're watching. Them not realizing that she's not just a thumper. She is like, she wants to do things the right way, and we just don't get insight into what's happening until so far in.
Yeah, the most interesting thing about this movie, I feel for people who went into this expecting an action film, because like there's a little bit, but like the most interesting thing to me about this film is, I'm not even going to call it moral ambiguity, but it's how flexible are your morals when you're dealing with villains and, you know, real people in some capacity who do these types of horrible things. Like, by the end of this,
real
like,
life
well,
villains.
I don't know if I like any of these people. I mean, outside of Kate, like, it just Alejandro, you feel for him, but it's like, does what he ends up doing, is it justified by the things that he's seen in the past? Like, where do you draw the line of what's justice versus revenge versus whatever else? It's rough.
And I think you get, over the course of the film, you get these like core value systems from each of these people. You get these core philosophies from each of these people, but you don't get the full picture. You don't get the full, like, what we're doing here. And like you said, the things that made these people who they are kind of background. So you're just like extrapolating out what they're doing and why, which makes, of course, it really hard to interpret their motivations. But I think at the core, like you get from Kate very early on, she's a by the book person, but she wants to make an impact. She's like, I want to make an impact, but I am a by the book person. And Matt, you learn, like, he's a whatever gets the job done guy. Yep. He's like, I want to control the situation to the best of my ability, and I will do whatever I need to do to get the job done. Whatever I need to do to get the job done. And Alejandro is there for revenge at the end of the day. He's there for like, I have a specific mission and I will partner with anyone to get it done. And you don't get enough of each of why they are that way in the middle of the film.
Well, I'm gonna help bridge a gap here, because you had mentioned things that change from the script. So I'm gonna let you make this point. But I think the most compelling thing about Alejandro, and why this movie, again, in the wrong hands, could have been much worse than what it is. It could have been pretty predictable and boring, and like cheesy, honestly. I like that Alejandro's entire backstory is explained through one line from Matt. Like, he tells Kate, this is what happened. And this kind of, and you're like, oh shit, that's fucked up. Literally, it's like 6 words of dialogue. So like, that is what makes the entire Alejandro character. But I mean, I'll let you talk about the differences in the script, because originally there was a shit ton more dialogue and exposition, right?
Yeah, so he cut, and this was a Benicio del Toro choice, He came in, and this is what I like about him as an actor. People like respect his process and who he is, but he will just come in and like do whatever the fuck he wants. He'll kind of
fart
not.
all over your set.
He will fart all over your set. He will not say 90% of your lines, which is what happened here. So he came in and was like, that doesn't make sense. He has no bond with her. He would not come out and tell her his life fucking story, having known her for 30 seconds. That there's no reason for him to do that.
Imagine that if this movie had him giving
and
a
it's
speech of
such
like,
a great
these
observation.
People, they hurt my family. I have to get rid. Like that would have not landed for me at all.
What I think Sheridan, the writer here, was trying to do, I think what he was anchoring that on is that she reminds him of his daughter. And he says that later, right? So he sort of explains himself. And so you think, well, you could maybe, I think what he was trying to do was rooting it in. Well, she reminds me of my daughter and she feels like a safe space. But I think he's not stupid enough to do that. If we get right down to it, Alejandro's a man who doesn't trust fucking anybody. So yeah, he's not gonna open up to her immediately. And that is why it totally vibes. So he came in, he cut out 90% of his script. He is a lot of like brooding one-liners. It's purely situational. If you notice, his lines are very environmental. They're like the thing that's happening in the moment at the time that you have to react to. They are not backstory kind of lines, even really all the way to the end.
Yeah.
You know,
the characters in this feel real. I would say like 90% of the dialogue in this feels real. And Alejandro, if that happened to you and someone killed your spouse and murdered your daughter,
would you behave differently?
Like you would not have emotion. I feel like you would be completely detached from humanity and your sole purpose in life is to kill this motherfucker. And like, that's it. I don't care what else happens from here. So it doesn't make sense that he would bond in any way with anybody in this capacity.
No, I think what you're seeing here is a unlikely pairing of two what are at the moment complementary agendas. That's all that it is. He has access to come in and kill the person that he wants to kill, and he can wave it under the flag of, I'm helping the Medellin cartel, so I'm doing my job because I work for them, but I am also helping the U.S. government because in the eyes of U.S. government, CIA, and Matt, the Medellin cartel is easier for them to control. The Sonora cartel is the wild card. They can't control it. It's too violent. It's too insane. And it's too close to the border. So it's bleeding in to our own, peace and safety and all the things. So those two agendas end up complementary in this one capacity, in this one moment. And who knows how long that will last, right? And so that for Matt is really interesting to understand that his motivations are just about control, about controlling this situation. And again, he will bend the rules of engagement to get that done. And if he is then having to employ a hitman from a different cartel, that's what he'll do.
You mentioned Medellin, and if you guys have never seen Narcos, if you love Sicario but you've never watched the Narcos TV series, both the original and the Mexico spinoff, both are very, I know that they are sensationalized in some capacity, but a lot of it is rooted in historical like significance or events, and I just feel like those are definitely worth checking out. But to your point about Kate and what we were saying before about the characters in this, again, I feel like a lesser writer-director would have made her this stoic and like badass female cop who's like, the reason this is so compelling is because she not only is she in the dark, like you said, and feeling kind of lost in this, the way that Blunt plays it is perfect because she is just like, the look on her face is concern and like doubt at so many times, where they could have played it as her just being like, yeah, I'm a badass,
keeping
female,
it cool, just I'm gonna suck it up. Also, I'm in a room with a bunch of guys where I can't be perceived as weak and I can't react and I have to behave a certain way. We've all been, as women, in those rooms where you're like, I'm not allowed to react the way I would like to react, right? And this I think is what tells you how by the book and how ethically bound she is, because she can't compromise the way that she needs to show up in those rooms to succeed and advance with what she thinks is the right thing to do. And I like that even though she's reacting, to your point, it's subtle, but it's there. I love the smoking thing, for example, like the very subtle line of like, she starts to smoke again. And Reggie asks her, they got you smoking again? And she's like, fuck yeah. Like she's that stressed. This is really getting to her, but it's just this little bitty tell. And she's keeping it together on the whole, but she's shaken.
Yeah, she's being taken for a ride throughout this entire thing until she finally pieces it together. But the whole movie comes together really well, even just the way that the characters' arcs end at the end of this thing. We don't get sort of the satisfaction that we expect to. Not to jump straight to the end here, but it doesn't. I don't think it ends happy for anybody involved, honestly.
No.
To backtrack a little bit, I think Matt, of all the things in here, I think Matt is probably the thing that stands out to me a little bit. Occasionally that character, nothing to do with Josh Brolin's performance, but occasionally that character gets a little, the flip-flop thing. I'm like, okay, that's interesting, but I don't know that I need that in here. But
I kind of like it because I think it makes him feel, I mean, it's a silly thing. I agree with you. But I don't know. It gives me this don't give a fuck energy from him that I think is what they're trying to do with that. They're trying to be like, this guy could not give less of a shit about what any of you people think of him, you know?
Yeah, I guess for as much as in this, he's playing this just like smug prick. I guess the flip-flops kind of track with that, right? Of like, it's not that big of a deal.
I think he just like, you know, I kind of hate this term, but he has this like big dick energy of like, I don't care. I am here to do one job and I care 0% what you think of how I do that job.
Yeah. It's like the end justifies the means for him no matter what.
100%. 100%. Yeah. I think the other thing that we have while we're on Matt, I think what we have to talk about, and it's a rough scene, is the torture scene of Alejandro and Matt in the room with the guy who is the informant who's going to tell them how to get the Sonora cartel guy back, you know, called back to the border basically, and figure out how to get back to the main guy. And I think there's a lot of misdirection happening here. And there's a lot of really interesting ways to frame up this scene. There's this like connection with this other police officer, like the Federales side of things of, you know, hey, how are you doing? What's your family? Blah, blah, blah. You get this allusion to Alejandro not having a family anymore, but you don't really know exactly what yet. You're just getting little tendrils, which I think are very effective of just like, I'm really sorry about what happened to you. And he kind of like, to your point, almost doesn't acknowledge it. You know, you see a flicker and then gone. You see him grab the water bottle and he goes in there with the water bottle and you think you know exactly what is going to happen. And then it immediately subverts your expectations, I think, in a way that is, in my opinion, very intentional. And the thing about Matt in this circumstance that I think stands out is that he can watch it happen and not even blink.
He's got like this smug smile on his face the whole time. Doesn't give a shit.
Again, to your point, and justifies the means. He's completely detached from this thing that is happening. And to be clear, in my opinion, there's lots of theories about this. In my opinion, he is not being waterboarded. He is being, I'm going to trigger warning for anybody, sexual assault trigger warning. He's being raped. Like, I think he's being sexually assaulted. You never see water drip down the drain. You don't hear the water bottle open. You are looking at that drain. This is very much like a Denis thing of like the way he directs the scene. He is looking away while letting you know exactly what's happening. And you hear the grunting. You hear a cadence to the sounds. There's no dripping. There's no gurgling. There's no water going down the drain. It's a cover. It's a cover for everybody knows there's going to be torture happening in this room. So I'm walking in with the water bottle. So everybody knows what happens in this room. But the recorder is going off and the other witnesses who give a shit are leaving the room. And this motion immediately is to like literally stick his crotch in his face.
That is curious. Yeah. This is a super interesting theory. Like, this is obviously the first time I'm hearing this. I had not read that anywhere else. And I think that's interesting to think about. I wrote down that close up of the drain and the way that this is shot with, this is like the anti-action movie. because most of the violence and the death and things in this are off screen. Like even when we get to the night vision stuff at the end, you don't see a lot of the shootouts aside from maybe the border encounter, right? Like you see shootings there, but it's not a traditional action movie shootout. It's just kind of an execution. But that's something that you have there. I don't know that I'm 100% on board. And this is sort of like fucked up to say. I don't want to like offend anybody here. If we're talking about sexual assault and they're trying to get this guy who is part of the Mexican cartel to tell them where this head honcho guy is or how to get the brother to come and like visit the boss, I don't know that a sexual assault is going to get them the results. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen in addition to, but I feel like the waterboarding is ultimately what's going to get them the answers that they want. I know that's really weird.
I think they're built
say,
for that. But I totally disagree though, because I mean, I get what you're saying, but I heartily disagree because these are people who live under the threat of base violence all the time. Yeah. Limbs being cut off, being shot, being cut, being murdered, whatever. That's almost normal operating procedure. What is not is the deep, deep shame and humiliation of a sexual assault. And that is something that will break a person down. And it's about power. It's not about sex. It's about dominance. It's about control. It's about power. It's about breaking you at a human level. And you can hold your breath through a waterboarding, but you can't stop the violation of a sexual assault. You cannot overcome that.
Yeah, and that's one of the more like interesting theories that I think we've discussed on the pod. I don't know that I agree with it, but it's something that I hadn't thought about. So,
yeah, I think like I rewatched that scene. It was painful, but I rewatched it like 3 times this time to be like, am I jumping to conclusions? And I just rewatched and rewatched. And it's pretty divisive in, whatever the threads and all the things. But Denis has only said like, you're supposed to interpret what happens in that room. You're not supposed to know. It is not fact that it's waterboarding. It's just torture. And it's just getting the answer. And what do you think happened in that room? And so I think that is like an incredibly powerful scene when you take in all those things and the physicality of it all and the way that it's shot. And even if you think it's waterboarding, fine. Let's just assume that. They don't show it to you.
I like that show about it to you. So much of this takes place in your imagination. And again, it's like, what atrocities are you okay with people committing for quote unquote the greater good? Like how far would you go to stop this cartel in their tracks or cut the head off the chicken kind of thing? But to segue,
and I think that's like about how it's just shot on the whole. Like I think there's so many things throughout this film. Like we have to talk about Roger Deakins at some point in the cinematography here, because choices like that, regardless of what is intended to happen in that room, are very intentional. The framing is very intentional. The claustrophobia of these situations is intentional. It's just shot in a really compelling way.
Let's talk about that right now, because I had written down early on in this of just these sweeping like overhead shots of parts of Mexico and like there are some beautiful. You can honestly kind of sense where Denis would go into Dune and all that, and they're just like not because of the desert component, but just these overhead like scenic shots in this. It's like, oh, that makes total sense that he would go on to do films like that. But I also want to give him credit because I think that the way that the border is shot when I guess they rebuilt the entirety
the Bridge
of
the Americas,
the Juarez border, because obviously they couldn't film that there because there's people trying to go in and out of Mexico. And the way that whole scene is shot with just the traffic and you're seeing it from all these different angles, and it's one of the few times in the film where we do see sort of like a shootout, for lack of a better term, that is just, again, the tension in that and the combination that comes from the visuals, the music, the performances is just great.
I think that just hits on so many levels. The production design and value of that cannot be overstated. They had to rebuild that entire bridge, and they had to they had to lay down asphalt. They had to paint it. They had to like really produce this space out of nothing. So I think that's huge, first of all. And then I think, to your point, how it is shot is incredible. This is all, again, we come back to like Kate's lack of understanding of what she has fucking gotten herself into. And you are sitting with her. You are seeing this whole situation from her lens, which is stuck in the back of a car. She has a limited range of motion, of view. She's got cars blocking her. She's got people blocking her. There are people moving in the way. There are some suspects, obviously, at multiple points. She's got to have her eyes roving throughout. And so do the other folks, right? And so there is no clear exit strategy. You are literally locked in. And it creates this palpable sense of claustrophobia and being trapped. And you're supposed to feel that. You're supposed to feel that. And it is shot so well to achieve that effect. And you, I think, also get the character development there of like, one, she's in the dark. Two, they all read this room. She's the only one who can't. She knows something's wrong. She knows this is not going to go well, but she doesn't know exactly what to expect. So they're still having to guide her through this. And then this shootout happens that is fucking illegal. At the end of the day, she screams it when she gets back across the border. And he's like, no, it wasn't. They even say on the way back, this isn't even going to make the papers in El Paso. This is going to make the papers in Juarez. They're like, that's going to be all over national news. And they're like, no, it won't. Nobody's going to even notice. That's how violent this world, this land of wolves is. And again, speaking to the shooting of it, this is the land of wolves, and it has a very different look and a very different vibe than as soon as they get back over the border to the land of laws. That's like very corporate, very structured, very building, very specific look and energy to that space versus where they've just come from. And it's just like so intentional, soup to nuts, in a really compelling way.
Absolutely. I think it's Matt at one point that says, that's what we're dealing with, and he's pointing to some of the atrocities that they're seeing on the Mexico side of things. Yeah. And it's just, when do morals go out the window, and how far are you willing to bend your own in order to get what you're trying to achieve? When you see something like that. Yeah.
And they even talked about that in the there was like a making of feature at one point that was about how they storyboarded this and they were trying to create. So like they didn't shoot in Juarez. It is truly obviously way too dangerous for them to do that. So, but they did shoot in Mexico. And they were storyboarding like, what is the look and what is the need that we have? And they were looking at a lot of really gruesome imagery as a result of like, what are the things that, like, some of those images are from actual research that they did of these like cutaway shots.
When they're driving in Juarez and they see those strung up bodies, like that's something that actual
dismembered
images
bodies
exist of.
That and it's something that Alejandro can relate to, right? Like imagine driving by that in this context too, and he's just immediately triggered as a character, and you don't even know that yet, but you see him going and seeing it again, and him having to be almost not neutral but calm in that situation of like seeing this thing that would of course trigger you and make you remember this horrible trauma that has happened to you. It probably, builds him up and makes him even more motivated to do what he's doing, but he just stays so calm in all these situations.
I feel like I said before, I just think he's completely disassociated. Like he has a one-track mind.
He's a one-track mind.
I know there is a sequel to this. I have not seen it. I know Benicio del Toro is in it, so there is a continuation of this character. But I feel like this character himself, once he's done this deed at the end of this and gotten his revenge, I think he'd be okay if he died tomorrow. I don't think he has any other purpose in life.
I think he did the thing he needed to do. I totally agree. And I think that they... I think the use of the tunnel, again, coming back to how they're shooting it, is speaking of him having tunnel vision. He's like, he has a one-track mind and he's going through this tunnel and they're doing it in the dark and they're doing it under fire and he's just going forward. And he even shoots her, yes, in her vest, but he shoots her, this person that you can tell he's come to respect and like, because again, he has this a little emotional connection to her. but he is not going to let it stop him. Nothing is going to stop him from what he needs to do. And how that's shot is so great. The night vision cameras and the thermal cameras that they only had those for a day. They shot all of
Yeah,
that
that was
in
none of
one
that
night.
was in post, guys. That was all
No,
shooting on actual thermal cams. Yeah.
they had us like the little footprints. My favorite factoid is that the little footprints are like a stunt guy heated up his boots before he walked in front of them so that there would
Just
be
so it would like
footprints
show
to
up better.
follow,
It's
because they
genius.
were,
It fucking
well,
works. Yeah.
it did work. And also it was because they were literally shooting under night. So like Roger Deakins and Denis both said, listen, like we wanted this to feel the way that you see it. We wanted the experience to be as real as possible. If you have moonlight lighting up this scene, then why can't they see? Why do they need all this gear? Why are they leveraging night vision? If you can see it, then they can see it, and they can't see it. So they shot in the dark, like car lights were off, all the lights were off, like it was pitch black. So they needed these tools to shoot this. And I just think that's like such an amazing way to produce these shots.
Yeah, for as much as you talked about earlier, the metaphorical being kept in the dark of Kate and whatnot, that's another this last sequence for it's so thrilling when they're going through this tunnel and it's very tense. But again, you're not seeing a lot of it. You're seeing
Mm-mm.
gunshots light up in the tunnel and
Yeah.
you're seeing them take cover, but it's not your traditional sort of action sequence. And yeah, that dynamic between I think Alejandro and Kate is what makes this movie. The best films are ones that sort of surprise you and stray away from tropes of how you think things are going to play out once you've
Yeah.
watched. You got a bunch of movies under your belt and you think you know how things are going to work out. And I think you assume halfway into this that Kate and Alejandro have this incredible bond and he saves her life, at least on one occasion, maybe more than once. But yeah, she puts a gun on him and he immediately just shoots her in her vest and is like, don't ever
Yeah.
point a weapon at me again. And
Yeah.
obviously, we get the final face off with the two of them too. And he is just like, I'm going to shoot you in the head if you're going to tell people about what we did here. It is a
Yeah.
brutal, but probably more realistic film than a lot of the other films in this genre.
And I think their dynamic is so much more realistic because, like, it does feel like they're bonding, but
Yeah.
there is no bond that is strong enough for this guy. And also, that can't be compromised by these other needs, whatever needs. Like for her, she's not going to necessarily give him a pass and let him take this police officer. She doesn't want to. And that's her living by the book, doing her thing. And he's not going to let her stop him. And I think so. Their relationship is very interesting and unique, but I still feel like what I like about the way he plays it is that you can tell he like kind of wants to take her under his wing. He
Mm.
kind of cares about her, but he still holds her at arm's length. There's still a limit to where that's going to go. And I think it's interesting when you come to the very end, to your point of like, he's trying to tell her this is the land of wolves now. And I love that line, not because we've heard it before and because like there have been Juarez and all this, but because we're now acknowledging that it has bled into this world. That's what's
Mm-hmm.
really happening here. There's this lie that there's this law land, this place that is rooted in ethics and values and laws and all these things. And then there's these land of wolves. And the reality here is that like you're all in the game. You're all wolves.
Yeah.
And you have made the compromises that make you such. Like you're lying to yourself to think that. And it's such an interesting final scene between the two of them of I think like it's very eye-opening for Kate and it's very painful for Kate to realize.
Yeah, and when she can't pull the trigger, like I mean,
Yeah.
he literally just had a gun to your head. That the other
And
line
she
that
still
hits me in
can't
that
do it.
scene, the other one that hits me is when he says you'd be committing suicide. Like
Yeah.
he's going to be the one that shoots you, but you're committing quote unquote committing
Yeah.
suicide because you're deciding to not do this one simple thing so that I don't shoot you. But yeah,
And
when
he
she
takes
can't pull
apart
the
her
trigger.
gun and like puts it there and it's like this is the
Yeah.
gun that I have. Like let me just make it super clear. And he is both her protector and her potential killer and he doesn't have a problem with that.
Right.
And she can't reconcile that.
Yeah, quote unquote the greater good. Yeah, how flexible are your morals? And like I just feel like the one thing that we have to touch on before we wrap at some point is that dinner execution when he infiltrates the compound. Like that is, it's in, again, tense and brutal, but him going in and just systematically picking people off. And I like the use when they're using the different negative shots and they use the overheads when they're going through the tunnel, as well as when he goes and they see the car going in. Just sort of those negative shots are cool. But then he gets there, and that just showdown between him and this boss who had done this horrible thing to his family, and the way that that plays out, there, like, I think Janelle actually had an audible gasp when he shoots like the wife and the kids, and for the guy says, you know, not in front of my boys, and he just kills them, kills the wife, and is like, finish your meal. That's fucked up, but it is, yeah, powerful.
It's funny because I expected him to kill them, and I expected him to make him watch. What surprised me about that scene, though, even on a second watch, that I noticed the most, I should say, was I liked how that actor, who I don't have his name handy, but I liked how he conveyed his fear. Because so often, especially as a cartel leader or even in these types of movies, it's this posturing. It's this, I'm never going to be taken down. Even if I'm about to die, like, I'm going to posture and I'm going to let you know that I'm the head of the Sonora cartel and fuck you. And instead, he is very subtly fearful. And for me, from the actor, it's in his eyes. He plays it really clearly in his eyes. His posture doesn't change. His mannerisms don't change. He asks with a almost presence, not in front of my boys, like, you can kill me, but let's do it elsewhere. Like, he still talks like he's the boss, but his eyes give away that he's not.
It's also a very good job by the casting department in this. I think they picked a man who has, I would buy him in a million other roles that are a lot more likable than like cartel boss. So they picked a guy who looks like a family man, honestly. And the way that he performs it, to your point, is quality.
Yeah, he takes you away. But I will say, other than that, I think that this scene is almost anticlimactic. It feels like it should be bigger. You know, not that it is impactful. It's incredibly impactful. I think you're supposed to feel that, is what I'm saying. But I think it is anticlimactic because, to your point, it's not this big action film. We didn't fucking rocket launch his estate, right? We sent in a quiet assassin who did it in 3 seconds flat. And it's this like, oh,
I don't know. To what I said before of like subverting tropes and how tense this keeps you without giving you a release. Anticlimactic might be one word for it, but more than anything, it's just not what you expect. You want this release. You want this final, like, satisfying thing, and the writing and the directing this never quite give it to you. And I think that's very intentional.
Yeah. And I think the thing I will say about Sheridan, so this is my one bone to pick with him. I think this is some of his really strong writing. And I even watched an interview with him about this film. And he exudes some humility about his writing. And he was respectful of the way Del Toro came in and said, no, that's not realistic. And he let all of that happen. What I think had made me biased to not go back and watch this again for a while was that I feel like he as a writer has shifted a lot in the wake of his success. And I read a certain amount of arrogance and swagger, and I'm better than you now energy from his current writing, of which I've watched a lot, that I was like, oh, I don't want to go back and watch that. I bet it. But it was a relief, is what I'm saying, because this was this felt different. This felt like his earlier work, and I really did like how he, to your point, tried to subvert tropes, was open to being collaborative with the team on this, and not as have as much of a chokehold over how it's executed. So I do think
this could have been, if they had stuck to the original script, it would, I don't know that it would drop at a whole point in whatever I end up rating this, but based on what I read, I'm like, oh, I would not like this as much if they did go with this.
It would have been a little too straightforward, and it would have been a little contrived. Again, you would kind of have this tether of maybe this is why he anchors to her or whatever. But yeah, I think this is more real. It feels more gritty. It feels more real. It feels more like the story we're trying to tell.
Well, I do like the last thing I have in my bullets is I like how, and credit to Sheridan on writing this, we get the cutaway sequences to this guy in Mexico, we assume, and his kid, and like his day-to-day life, and clearly him and his wife are not doing great, but it's just this interactions with his son and his kid wanting to play soccer, football, like we're getting all this throughout, and you don't really understand where it's going. Or you're like, wait, I think the first time I watched this, I was like, oh, this is the mob boss that they're going after. Like, I assumed he was the boss, and we were seeing him at his home life. That's obviously not the case. He is, kind of a dirty cop on the Mexico side of things, working with the cartel. But then because you've seen him, even though eventually, okay, he's on quote unquote the bad team, right? He's like helping to deal drugs and whatnot, or move drugs. We feel for him at the end because we've seen his home life, and that's such a subtle touch that I don't know you had to put in this movie, but it does make it so much better because you feel for how brutally he's just kind of suddenly offed at the end. And then we end on, I think it's very significant that the last shot of this is his family without him at the soccer game. They hear the gunshots, and that's what we close on. Like, what's your take on that?
I think there's two main points I would have there. One, I hard agree. I think those are really important storytelling motions for this. We have to see the human impact, the one-to-one human impact of what these bigger powers that be are doing. And so I think he's such a great through line for that in that sense. And I think you're really empathetic for him because what's going to happen to him if he's not corrupted by these people? He's going to die. Either way, he dies. So you feel and see this resignation to, I don't have a choice. He's drinking liquor in his coffee. Because like it's this or his family dies. It's this or he's decapitated. Like, what's he going to do? And I think it's just indicative of the impossible situation that he's in, but he does love his family. He loves his son. And you see the impact of that. And then I think the other piece at the very end, to your point at the soccer game, is equally devastating because they hear the shots. They hear that this umpteenth attack or terrible thing is happening. They pause for a beat, barely a beat, and they go back to the game. Because that's just life.
Yeah.
That's just life. And I think that's the message here of like, this is normal life for them. And this has become normal operating procedure for everyone here. And I think the question mark a little bit there is, did we change anything? Did we actually make an impact here? And I don't think you're supposed to know, by the way. I think you're supposed to wonder.
Powerful stuff. It's a movie. Like I said, I should not have resisted this as long as I did. I thought I knew what I was walking into, and I'm not going to go as far as to say it blew me away. I think if I had seen this before, I had seen Narcos, and I saw sort of like the portrayal of what that life is like and all the people kind of stuck within that system in some capacity. It's the same thing that like The Wire did back in the day with like Baltimore and like the life there and what you're born into. It's a very nature versus nurture type thing of you're kind of screwed in some capacity. If I had seen this before Narcos, it probably would have blown me away. I think because I waited until after it didn't quite have that effect, but I went, shit, that was really good, really powerful film.
Yeah. Okay, so what's your rating? And actually, if you have it, I would be curious, like, what first watch versus second watch, like, because it sounds like you felt like me on the first watch as well, of just like this was.
You're a little lost the first time through, and I think that's very intentional. I think on second watch you realize that Kate and Reggie are trying to get into, like, they're asking on multiple occasions of, you need to tell me what the fuck we're doing, otherwise we're out. Totally. Like so. You are lost the first time through. I watched it again on an airplane, so I'm watching it on like a tiny ass like back of seat.
Yeah, which is like not the same. I get it.
Yeah, I would say first time through, I probably would have given it like a 7.5, 7. Like, it was fine. Second time through, I appreciate it a lot more. And there's stuff from this that'll stick with you. If I don't remember anything else from this, it'll be the bodies. I know it's fake, but like the fact that actually happens, and then the bodies in the walls of the house is something.
Oh God, we forgot to talk about that. That's a fucking scene.
That will stick with me. Of like everything else in this movie, we open with that, and it's just there's 35 or so bodies like built into the wall, like hidden in the walls of this house. That is,
and I like that they show every reaction, and it being like the toughest guys, and everybody is taken by this situation. Yeah. Everyone is vomiting and retching because it's insane. It's insane.
Yeah. So I think at the end of the day, I'd probably bump this up on second watch to like an 8 or so. Maybe 8.5. Like I think like a solid B is probably where I'd put it at. So probably like an 8.5. What about you?
I would say I was much harsher on my first watch.
Mm-hmm.
The control freak know-it-all in me hated it. Hated it the first time. I was like, what the fuck is happening? And I honestly don't, I just remember hating it. I don't remember exactly. This is me in retrospect going, I think that's why. But I would have probably on the first time said like a 5, a 6, a
Oh
like
wow.
very
Okay.
low, like just I never want to watch that again. Um, but yeah, on second watch, so much to appreciate here. The cinematography is like really one of the standouts to me of just the claustrophobia, like the bridge scene is, I mean, just the height of suspense and tension building through camera work. I mean, it's, and the acting of course as well, but I think a lot of that is done through the camera work. So I thought that was really compelling. And the writing is really good. I think the through line. And then I think the gruesome grittiness and where that comes from really, like, the reasoning behind that really came through a lot more for me this time. So it wasn't gruesome for gruesome's sake, which I think is probably maybe one of my first takeaways the first time. I would guess, I don't really remember because I saw it when it came out, I remember. So anyway, all that to say, I think I'm about in alignment on a second watch of like, I would say probably an 8. I think I'm probably pretty much at an 8. I think there are some things we could have done better, but nothing like no super, big red flags. I think there's some things that we could have done that would have been more interesting or more actiony or more whatever. But I respect what they're doing here. They did a good job.
Yeah, your point. I think 8 is where I land. Your point about the gore and like the graphic stuff in this. I think there's some movies, especially in like the horror genre, where you're meant to see something and go like, like kind of react in that way of like, oh, I want to close because this is so gross. The
This
gore
is
in
not like
this is
that.
meant
This
to be
is,
like traumatizing of like,
yeah,
holy shit, this happens. That's
yeah.
horrible. Like
It's
it.
it's exactly that. I think that's the thing that really hit me this time that I don't think I took away the first time of like this is some people's real
Yeah,
life.
it's life.
It's really life and we know that conceptually, right? This is making us look at it. Like
Yeah.
really look at it. And even the scene that I was talking about with the drain and all the things, that was a different watch this time as well, and it told a different story to me. But even though it's all really hard to look at, it feels very intentional and it feels like it makes sense. So I respected it more this time, I think, is what I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Okay, guys, this is a heavy one. Long and short of it, watch it. It's very worthy of a watch if you haven't seen it. I would be shocked if you're still here if you hadn't
And
seen it.
thanks for voting for this one, guys, because I don't
Yes.
know that I would have rewatched this
I don't
without
think I
the
would have either. I've
and I
been
think it
being
was much
bugged.
better on second watch.
I've been being bugged to rewatch this for a while and I refused. So I don't think I would have for sure if you guys hadn't made me. But as I'm sure you can imagine, we need a fucking minute after this. So we're going to take a little breather in the form of a lighter Fan Jan selection. We're going to come back and talk to you guys next week about Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Which I think is Janelle's favorite movie. So she is
Really?
hyped. Yeah, I think it's number
Oh my
1.
God. That's awesome. I remember it being good. I have not seen it in a very long time. So I'm excited to do a rewatch as well. Cool, cool. All right. Well, in the meantime,
Follow us on our socials. We drink and we watch things on Instagram and TikTok. You can get the video of this podcast on YouTube or Spotify video. You can also email us, we drink and we watch things pod@gmail.com with questions, feedback, movie suggestions, all that good stuff. And yeah, wherever you're listening to us, make sure you give us a like, subscribe, comments, however you want to engage. We're always out there waiting.
write a review, but
watching.
only if it's good. All right. For now, go have a drink and watch a thing. Cheers.
Cheers.